I got to Texas, and who did I run into? Joe Cook from Inside Texas. Joe, your first SEC Media Days. Second one, that's right. You guys tested it out last year.
Right.
But it's different when Longhorns were actually here, right? So they're coming Wednesday. Have you successfully determined what it is and why it is so much more meaningful?
Not yet. But I mean, this is a lot more exciting, I think, because we're actually talking about on the field stuff. Because I did SEC spring meetings, saw that, and it was basically what do rosters look like?
Yeah.
And, okay, cool.
It's complain about rules time in Destin. Everybody's like, oh, it's great. We get to go to the beach for work. No, you get to stand in a basement and watch everybody complain about rules, and then they go to the beach while you do stuff.
Right. It's the NCAA bureaucracy.
Oh.
The shining light.
No,
this is the team.
There's football coming.
Right.
There will be players here. They will be talking about the upcoming season. It is funny though, because I'm a veteran of these. I was at SEC Media Days when Texas A&M and Missouri joined the league, and I'm not kidding you. Kevin Sumlin, who was in his first year at Texas A&M, then probably got this question or a version of it 100 times. How scared are you of the SEC? How do you think Sark and the players are going to, because they're going to get it.
Right.
How are they going to answer that?
They're probably going to turn it around on people. That last year, if you ever look at the championship rings that Texas got from winning the Big 12, said JWM on the bottom. That's John Wick mentality. And granted, everybody who talks about this is like, oh, Kirby Smart said this first. I don't know. Probably Newt Rockne said it first.
I don't think Newt Rockne saw John Wick.
Right. But
great movie, though.
The whole idea.
Never kill somebody's dog.
The whole idea about if you're first, everybody's chasing you, but you're also chasing everybody else. That's the way they approach it. That's how Sark's going to look at it. And I think they're confident that they can walk in this. You're not going to win anything on media days. But they can walk into this league and succeed in it right away.
It's a nice chip to have when you played the team that won the league last year at their home stadium and beat them. I would feel like that makes it easier.
Exactly. And that was a piece, and I know we talked about this last time I was on with you, that gave them confidence in 2023. But I think now they go back, they can look at it, think, we did this last year. We can do this again. It's going to be a difficult gauntlet. It's going to be different seeing it week to week. But at the same time, that win, I think it not only was important for the program that season, but going forward as well.
So as someone who grew up following Texas football, how weird is this?
Very. See, my first kind of memories are of those first couple of years in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And I remember
roll left, baby.
I wasn't there.
Very
for that.
Important play in my life. Exactly. Roll left.
So I wasn't there for that, but I was in the Alamo Dome when Nebraska just beat the dog out of Texas a couple years later.
Yeah.
So I'm experienced with the Big 12. I saw, at Texas Stadium, Colorado beat Texas. A few years later, NRG, Texas beat Colorado. So I've seen all this. I've seen this all through the lens of the Big 12. And my freshman year at Texas was the first year Missouri and A&M were in the SEC. So I got robbed of that experience. In another way, Big 12 Media Days used to be here.
Yes. The running of the Mary Kay. So
Mary Kay convention
for those
with Mrs. Stoops.
For those who don't remember or don't know or didn't care, you should care about this. This used to be where they had Big 12 Media Days. And so through this hallway would be all of these pink-suited Mary Kay ladies. And yes, so of course, the biggest rock star at Big 12 Media Days was always Mac Brown or Bob Stoops. But Bob Stoops' wife, Carol, was very high up in the Mary Kay organization. Like, she drove a pink Escalade. That's how high up. Now, when he was the DC at Florida, she had the pink. It must have been not El Dorado or Sedan DeVille, whatever that the big sedan was at the time. But she'd upgraded to the Escalade by that point. She was a rock star. Like, none of these ladies cared about Mac Brown or Bob Stoops. It was Carol Stoops was the star. And that's where, as I walked into this hallway, I was like, oh yeah, this is where I used to see all those pink suited ladies just like tromping through.
And it's where you'd see Mac Brown. And I was only here for when it was Charlie's last year, and that was very ill-fated. But then they moved it to Jerry World because there was fears that this event would be at Jerry World. For the league for a little while, and they wanted to assuage that. So it's good to be back. One of my favorite memories is, after work was done, I'm like, I'm going to go. There's a bar downstairs. I'll go down, grab a drink, and I'm walking in. Dana Holgerson's walking out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I missed happy hour.
That's a good man to hit the bars with. He knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
But the Big 12 brings the mascots to Media Day. Do you feel like there's a missed opportunity by the SEC?
No, because they bring the fans, right? Isn't that a thing
Well, we think. I don't know how they're going to get up here. I mean, so everybody knows the lay of the land in Hoover, which they haven't been there in a while. But in Hoover, it's attached to a mall. The hotel is attached to a mall. You can't really keep them out. And so you have that dude who shows up with the Alabama championship ring hat on every year. Like, I don't know how he's going to figure out how to get up here.
right?
But yeah, probably they'll gather in the lobby. And I hope he didn't make the drive all the way here just for that.
It's not that bad. It's a straight shot on I-20. I had to do
That's
that
true.
last season. That's how I got to
Go through Longview,
Longview, I
Shreveport,
made a stop
Bossier
at,
City.
made a stop at Margaritaville a couple days after Jimmy Buffett
I have
passed away. And they had a giant guitar memorial for him. And it was a touching moment on the way back when I cashed a ticket.
It is, the Shreveport experience is so, now, no, people in the SEC don't necessarily want that because it means you're in the Independence Bowl.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. The level of crossover here, and obviously they did so on purpose. It's the first year Texas and Oklahoma are in the league, so have the thing at the site of Red River.
If you drive by here or see the shot on SEC Network, you can't see it from where we're at, but Reunion Tower, it's like a big observation tower with a ball on top. That's going to have the SEC logo. This whole hotel is going to be lit up with the SEC logo. Like, it is branding to the max. And that's probably the main reason they did it, but also to plant a little bit of a flag in between Oklahoma and Texas.
Well, and that's the other piece of this. You know, they got A&M in 2012. And that obviously gave them a giant foothold in Texas with a very popular program that has a huge fan base. But now it feels like the state that you most closely associated with the Big 12, the SEC has essentially planted its flag in.
And as we all know, they've planted them into the living rooms of all the different places.
Yeah.
Because TCU, it doesn't move the needle on television screens. And I hate measuring the sport by television screens.
But that's how all these guys do it. Yeah.
The SEC has to. That's one of the big reasons why. That's why way back in the day when you were talking about when Missouri and A&M moved, that's why the Pac-12 wanted to add make it the Pac-16 to get these television markets. But Greg Sankey was the one who got it done for the SEC.
So which future Texas opponent are you most excited to see, hear from, talk to?
I'm very curious to see what Georgia thinks about the Longhorns, considering they're on the schedule the next 2 years. When you look at the betting odds, Georgia's right up there because they're the best in the league. Texas is right behind them, A, because they're a popular bet, but B, because they're a good team. So I'm really curious to see how they feel about, them being on the schedule. I looked the other day, like Texas doesn't play Ole Miss doesn't play Texas, Alabama, Texas don't play, Ole Miss and Bama don't play, but Georgia has to play all three.
Yeah.
So they have to go through the gauntlet. Texas may be one of the more difficult ones, them and Alabama on that. So I'm curious about that. And then I'm obviously, you got to find the A&M and Arkansas angle with the old Southwest Conference. Arkansas being the first round of realignment to leave. I think they're 4-2 against Texas.
Well, the last time when Texas went to Fayetteville, I wonder, is there kind of some shell shock from the Texas fans? The players obviously aren't going to remember that because they weren't there for it.
They're a handful.
Yeah, there's probably a couple, but I mean, that was an absolute butt whooping. And that's how much all those former Southwest Conference teams hate Texas. And I think that helps. I think that just when they come in with some pre-made rivalries, and obviously the A&M thing is huge, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the fact is, Arkansas-Texas was a good rivalry for a long time.
It was some of the most consequential games in the history of Texas football during its rise in the 60s were against Arkansas. And it's not just the 1969 game with President Nixon. There was a huge game in 68. I think even in the early 70s, in the late Darrell Royals tenure, there were big games then. So huge games. And like I said, Arkansas has come to Austin. They beat them, I think, in like 2007. 2021 was the return game of that in that contract.
God, I love college football scheduling.
You had Brett Bielema throwing the horns down in the bowl.
That was a borderline erotic game.
Yeah, where Texas, it was terrible for me as a student going to that game.
Borderline erotic.
Yeah,
well, that was one of the greatest press conferences of all time after one of the most ugly to watch games of all time.
Like 57 yards total or something like that. Terrible. So yeah, Arkansas, I went up there, me and our photographer Will Gallagher, a couple friends of mine, and we have been pretty felt good about wherever we've gone all the way up until the last whistle of the game when the fans stormed the field and I'm walking back to the car. I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little bit more in horns down. And I'm not even wearing like Texas gear. I'm wearing like a little bit of orange for an inside Texas logo, but like that's it. And I'm like, I need to get out there.
I am glad you brought up horns down because
oh gosh,
I don't think the SEC is going to care much about horns down.
And Texas fans won't either. I really
then why do people keep whining about it?
Because Mac Brown whined about it once. Mike Davis, who
the basketball coach whined about it this year too.
That's true, and that was a bad misstep on Rodney Terry's part. But long ago, OU's been doing it forever. Every team does it forever. Mike Davis scores a touchdown in Lubbock at Texas Tech,
and he did guns down.
Holsters the guns and gets flagged for it.
Yep.
And Mac Brown goes on his rant, great politician in college football that he is, like, we can't be doing this. If you're going to flag it one way, flag it the other. And so everybody has stuck to that. And there's always some member of the local media who's like, are you going to flag it? Are you going to flag it? Sankey's going to get it. We're going to get the
I don't think there's anything else like that, though. It's interesting because, I went to Florida. The thing a team does or a player does when they do something to beat Florida is they will go chomp at the Florida fans, but it's just the thing the Florida fans do.
Right.
It's not a different version of it. Like it's not a funhouse mirror version of it. So I think that's what makes it so much fun is you have this weird funhouse mirror version of the thing all the fans are doing, and it just pisses everybody off.
But Texas fans just don't, on the whole, don't care.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny, and
I'm sure they're used to it. And the thing is, like, you can't be sensitive,
right?
In the SEC,
everybody hates you
because
you're not there.
Yeah, and LSU is going, like, those fans are going to yell things at you. Georgia fans are going to yell things at you. Now, I don't want Texas fans to think that when they go to these places, they're just going to get screamed at or have batteries thrown at. That's not like when you go to Auburn. They're incredibly nice to visiting fans unless they're Alabama fans.
Right.
And especially if it's a first-time deal or they haven't been there in a while, like they appreciate their college football history. Georgia will be like that when Texas goes there next year. Like people will be welcoming fans into their tailgates. I love that part of it. I'm so excited to see Oklahoma go to Auburn, to see Texas go to Georgia when they do it next year, the Texas go to Florida next year. That part's going to be so much fun.
I'm excited for that too, just because it's new places. And Texas has done a great job dating back to before Chris Del Conte of scheduling marquee games. Some of that has to do with sometimes you get Kansas and Iowa State, teams that have beaten Texas.
Yeah.
But you get teams that aren't helmets in Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. It doesn't sometimes appeal to the average Texas season ticket holder. So that's why they get the Alabamas and do the home and homes. That's why they have Michigan, which if it weren't for realignment, this year would have been that Michigan home game.
Yeah.
And said in 2027 would have been in Ann Arbor.
And they lost the LSU return game, right? When they were going to go to Tiger Stadium. So now they're
Correct.
going to get to go to Tiger Stadium for conference games when they go.
So they've done a great job dating back to when DeLoss Dodds was still athletic director of scheduling these marquee games. But now the marquee games are always on the schedule. So I'm curious to see if that's going to change going forward. I know Arizona State's way out there in the distance as well. But it's going to be exciting just to see, think about next year when it's A&M coming to Austin.
Yeah.
Also Arkansas coming to Austin and Vanderbilt coming to Austin, which I know everybody's really excited.
Oh, they're
about.
pumped.
Really
I think you'll be able to get a hotel room that week.
Yeah, it's not going to be competing with Max Verstappen for
that is the most amazing. So for those who don't know, Georgia is coming to Austin the same week as the Formula One race in Austin. Is that going to be the biggest weekend in Austin that isn't South by Southwest or isn't, something that's already a huge thing with a bunch of people coming?
Probably just because there is some crossover. Like I'm sure there's some Georgia fans and Texas fans who are pretty into watching Drive to Survive and stuff like that. But that's two completely different branches in the sport.
It's funny though, because it's a sport where the same guy wins every race and the same team wins every title, kind of like college football was for about 15 years there. Right. So college football fans should be able to at least appreciate the irony of it. So,
and it's also, a Saturday sport and a Sunday sport. Like it's going to be something all weekend. Our Georgia site, Dogs HQ, I talked to Jake over there. They're bringing the RV.
I know. He's told me. I've told him I might try to hitch a ride.
That was a good call. And I don't even know if there's RV parking around DKR for like ticketed and season tickets, but there's some great spots around town, and that's going to make it fun too.
Oh, I cannot wait. And that's the thing. Like, all right, Joe, let's talk about what people in the SEC truly care about and what people in Austin truly care about. And that's barbecue.
Yep.
What Give me your 5 barbecue places
Okay.
that SEC fans coming to Austin for the first time need to hit.
I'm going to give away all my secrets. Now the lines are gonna get
I
fun.
know. That's what we're here for.
All right. Number 1, Terry Black's. I feel like you get a high quality meal every single time. Line's not terrible. Sides are great. Beer's in line. They churn people out to where you may be waiting in line for an hour, but you get to the front, you find a table.
So this is a place, the last couple times I've been in Austin has been, on that barbecue Sabbath when they're not open. But all my friends have, on their most recent trips to Austin, that's the one they've gone to, and they've sent me pictures, and I'm dying to go there.
It is high quality. I've never had a bad meal
Yeah.
there. I'm a brisket and ribs person.
Yep.
But they have beef ribs. They have everything. Number 2 is Styles Switch.
Love Style
A
Switch.
little bit on the north side.
Also,
of town.
if you watch Dazed and Confused,
Yep.
you will notice a familiar
The
scene.
Violet Crown Center.
All right.
That's where that was at. The top-notch burger, the drive-in's not too far from there.
And Style Switch, they are great at specials. They
Right.
come up with some really cool stuff.
And oddly enough, I think they may be owned by some A&M guys too.
Yeah, they might be. They might be ag. Now look, the ag school teaches
Yes.
people how to cook barbecue.
But the best
So there's a lot of Aggies that cook barbecue.
the best barbecue I know of, and I'll get to this one. He's an honorable mention, but I got to mention him. Grant Pinkerton.
Oh
I
yeah,
know him well.
a huge Texas guy.
Houston, San Antonio, a little bit out of the way.
Love
but
Pinkertons. If you are in Houston or San Antonio, hit it up. Grant actually came in my old show during the pandemic. We talked about how he had to switch to wings during the pandemic to keep things afloat. But they are going strong now. So I'm glad you mentioned them. All right. So we got
duck jambalaya, jalapeno cheese rice.
Yes.
You go there
duck
for the
sausage
meat, but you get
jambalaya, which
you get
he
the
figured out
sides.
on a hunting trip. Unbelievable. All right. What else we got in Austin?
Interstellar. which
Okay.
I think Texas Monthly, when they redid their rankings, I think they made that number 1.
Yep. Daniel Vaughn lives here in Dallas. He's the guy who does the Texas barbecue rankings. And if you think like any ranking you've gotten mad at me about for college football, Daniel has gotten it a billion times worse for his barbecue rankings.
So I've been to those places. Now, as far as experience goes, I know everybody's going to say the line at Franklin, and don't get me
The
wrong,
line is not a great experience. The barbecue is
great.
Order it in advance from the
Correct.
window, 5 pounds or more. You don't have to wait, and you get to eat it. The line is for schmucks.
But I'm going to say Snows in Lexington.
Yes.
Which I forget
I
the
took
name.
my son there.
Did you wait in line and do whiskey shots at 3 a.m.?
We did not do whiskey shots at 3. The line wasn't that bad, actually. Kerry Bexley's the owner. Miss Tootsie, the pit master. I've been there actually several times. Basically, when I had to cover games at A&M, I would stay in Austin so that I could drive through Lexington on the way. You want to be there when they open at 8 because they run out, and you can just what you do is you get lunch and dinner there too and bring it with you.
And so number 5, it's a full experience. And I've done this a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's catty cornered from Terry Black's. You go to Green Mesquite,
Okay.
hang out there. Maybe there's a band playing in the back. You can stop by Barton Springs Saloon right next door. There
Nice.
at Lamar at Barton Springs. And then you go play 9 holes at pitch and putt. Have a little fun in the sun, play 9 holes of a par 3 course, and see if you can get your name on the hole-in-one wall at Butler Cabin.
Nice. Love it. Can I throw one in there?
Yeah.
Leroy and Lewis.
Okay.
Knoll guys.
Okay.
One of them's a Knoll. One of them's a Florida State guy. But they are very creative. They do the Texas Trinity, I believe, on Saturdays. But most of the rest of the week, they are doing some creative stuff. They'll do like beef cheeks one day, or they're very creative in the meat. And they also do the brisket smash burger. Holy cow, it's good.
Couple more. Valentina's always great. Puts a good Tex-Mex spin. And I feel terrible about this one. There's one right by Crockett High School over off it's spelled Manshaka, but off of Manshack. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's in an Old Hearts Chicken.
You will find it, folks. You can find it. I promise.
But I will highly recommend that one as well.
Oh, what a town. What a town to eat in. And that's
that's just the barbecue.
That doesn't even count or the barbecue fusion. Because you've got like Loro
which is
that
great.
does Mexican barbecue fusion. Well, Mexican,
Korean.
Asian.
Korean. And it's got a bunch of different cocktails as well. They do the pork shoulder, pork belly, that type of thing really, really
the
well.
Chips, the wonton chips. Oh, unreal. And so and then you got the brisket ramen to Murray Katsuyan.
That
incredible.
stretch on South Lamar, you can find Matt's El Rancho, which, staple of the Tex-Mex scene. There's a bunch of different spots. I mean, like there's Torchy's if you like that. I'm not one to besmirch Torchy's.
I love Torchy's. It's an Austin
great.
original. It's now taken, like, we have Torchy's in Florida now.
Right.
And I love it because I don't feel like it's bad when a restaurant becomes a chain.
Right.
It just means they do a really good job over and over and over again.
There's a Maudie's, which is a good Tex-Mex spot.
Yep.
There's this. That's where what's the sushi place? The high-end sushi place. I can't remember the exact name of it. It'll come to me. But there's just south of Barton Springs on Lamar Boulevard. Lots of great.
And of course, you wash it down with some Amy's ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite Amy's trip ever, their flavor of the week was Shinerbach ice cream. It was spectacular.
I could deal with that. They have some not cocktail ice creams, but alcoholic ice creams that are pretty darn good.
Joe, I am starving now for food and for football. This is tremendous. Enjoy your time here at SEC Media Days. Trip number 2. This is like probably into the high teens or the 20s for me. I was here when Nick Saban's dog came into the big media room when he was at LSU. I was there when Philip Fulmer did his by teleconference because he was going to be served with a subpoena if he walked in the room. And I was also there, and this is the real ones know this one, Joe. You'll never get to experience anything as good as this. There was a year Bobby Johnson decided he was done being the head coach at Vanderbilt. Didn't want to do it anymore. He retired. Robbie Caldwell, who would go on to become the offensive line coach at Clemson, but Robbie Caldwell was named the interim coach for that season. Robbie Caldwell gave the single greatest SEC Media Days performance ever. He's in that giant room. The giant room's right behind us. This was the one in Hoover. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about his job as a turkey inseminator. It will never eclipse that. I don't care what Stark says. Interim Vanderbilt head coach.
That doesn't seem very Vanderbilt.
Well, if you've ever heard Robbie Caldwell, it's very Robbie Caldwell. So, look, nothing Sark's going to say will top that. Nothing Brent Venables will say will top that. But we can only hope to come close. Joe, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.